In this video, I want to discuss fasting from my own experience to applying it with my health and wellness clients for the past 2 years. So let's get into it. So first, I'd like to discuss my experience. I have been studying how to fast properly and the different, approaches to fasting, whether that be a 1 day or they call it 24-hour fast, 2 day, 3 day, and so forth. I wanted to understand the do's and don'ts, as well as experiencing it firsthand before ever applying it with my coaching programs. With my first fast was just simply a 1 day fast. I wanted to experience that autophagy that I've read so much about, along with controlling my hunger hormones. I have had issues with hunger for quite some time, always being hungry at the 2 to 3 hour window, and that level of hunger, it increases in the evening. So this hormone associated with hunger called ghrelin, I wanted to learn how to better control naturally. Also, I was in need of learning a higher level of self-control. When I'm around food in the past, I haven't been able to control myself, so I needed to learn better self-control around sweets and unhealthy foods that I have no business eating. I wanted to learn how to control that, and through fasting, I found that answer. So, in experiencing my 1 day fast, I found that I became extremely hungry around afternoon to evening time. This was really where my spike of hunger, or ghrelin, was really impacting my life in a negative fashion. So I pushed through, kept myself busy, went on a few walks, did a few errands just to keep my mind uh, distracted from that intense feeling of hunger. I had read previously that if you were experiencing this extreme feeling of hunger in the first day, that is a good sign that you really need this fast. So that motivated me to push through. I got to bed early that night, woke up the next day 2.5 pounds lighter. What I experienced after that first day of fast was a decreased sense of ache and pain in my lower back, where I have a previous back injury. Also, knee pain was diminished, meaning that I wasn't as sore getting up and standing up in a regular standing position or bending down into a squatting position. Also, I experienced a better control of my hunger, realizing that I did not need food to get by. This connection mentally was obvious from all of my research with fasting, but feeling it firsthand really let me know, hey, the food isn't as important as you think it is. And that connection helped me get through a lot of future fasts. So as time went on, I decided to apply a 3 day fast. 3 day fast, just water, electrolytes from mineral water, and black coffee just for energy levels, because I had feared I'd be at low energy from a fast. Again, day one of that 3 day fast was the hardest, being hungry in the evening time. Probably around between 6 and 8 p.m. is when I felt the highest level of hunger from that hormone ghrelin again. Now, mind you, 1 and 3 day fasts will help better balance those hunger hormones, but not to the level that I needed, because simply it was obviously way out of hand. So the first day of my 3 day fast was pretty difficult. Moving on to the second day, I noticed I felt a little more focused and energetic in the morning time on day two of my fast. At that point, I had set up quite a few errands and work to do to keep my mind busy. At nighttime, I made sure that I got to bed early so that I wasn't up late thinking about food. But by day two, it was getting a little bit better than the first day. Still, between 6 and 8, I was feeling those hunger pains, and my stomach did growl a few times. So I get to bed early. Day three comes. Day three is that nice magic window where you're feeling better than day one and day two. Um, from my experience and from what I've read from others who've experienced fasting and professionals who guide those through fasting, I heard that day 3 is a lot easier, and it is. You feel more energy. Your body is using ketones for fuel, using damaged cells for fuel, burning those off, and create. You're well into autophagy at this point. So I felt clear-minded, focused, calm. I also noticed that I didn't need the coffee, so I skipped the coffee and just kept it on the standby in case I needed to use it for possible energy boosts or to suppress hunger. But I did not need to do that in day 3 of my fast. On the 3rd day of fast, you're quite content as long as you're not having food waved in front of your face. Now, a fast, you really want to stay busy and you want to stay away from any exposure to that food because it's just an unfair disadvantage you have where you haven't eaten in days and then you're seeing, maybe a bowl of pasta go by you or cookies or whatever it is that you shouldn't be eating. It's in the house. You want to keep that out of the house and off the dinner table in those 3 days of fasting. So my 3-day fast was quite a success. I dropped a little over 10 pounds. What biggest difference I felt was the reduction in inflammation throughout my body. My stomach did not stick out as far. My joints and my back injury did not hurt at all. Actually, I had a better range of motion, and this wasn't from any stretching because I wasn't stretching. This wasn't from any exercise. It was simply just from reduced inflammation. I also felt very clear minded. And after day 3 of fasting, I applied a protein shake at the beginning of the fast to help with getting an easily digestible food in that is high in water content. So after the 3-day fast, I wanted to complete a 7-day fast. This was the holy grail to me of fasting. Um, from the beginning of my research in fasting, this was my long-term goal, was to complete a 7-day fast. But I will say I was intimidated. I had a few friends get through the fast. I should say a 7-day fast. So I talked to them, got their feedback on those pain points that they struggled through, and some feedback from them on what to help navigate that 7-day fast. And after a little more research, just to make sure that I wasn't going to be in any harm, I applied the 7-day fast in the beginning of the year in January. My focus for this fast was to change some of the physical internal hormones in my body to help manage my hormones associated with hunger and being full, my testosterone levels, estrogen levels, reproductive hormones. I was working with a fertility clinic, and I wanted to help improve my sperm count and quality of sperm. So I thought getting rid of some of the damaged cells internally would help do that. So I move on to my 7-day fast, keeping myself very busy for the first 3 days, which is extremely important because that's the hardest of the 7-day fast is those first 3 days, just due to the hunger, hormones balancing out and having those nighttime um, hungers before bed on the first 3 days. Once you get over that 3-day hump, you feel like you can continue on a fast forever. By day 7, I was shocked. I felt so clear-minded, patient, focused. I had so much decrease in inflammation that my sinus cavities and my nasal cavities were clear and I could breathe much more fluently and at ease with my mouth closed. This showed up on my CPAP machine as well, realizing that I no longer needed the CPAP to breathe comfortably throughout the night. I tested it out with an Apple Watch to see if I was having many disruptions with breathing. I taped my mouth closed to make sure I can only breathe through my nose. And I realized I had cured my sleep apnea by fasting. Now, this probably was also associated with some of the weight loss of 19.5 pounds I dropped in 7 days, taking off a lot of inflammation around those organ systems that were helping me with respiration, along with my sinuses clearing up dramatically. Now, I didn't think I had a lot of mucus buildup in my sinuses, but once I did that 7 day fast, it's quite obvious that I could breathe much more calmly and with ease through my nose, even with a deviated septum. So, this was a big win for me, dropping 19.5 pounds in 7 days, but also more importantly, getting me off that CPAP machine, breathing very, very calmly, having some of the best sleep in my life. I do feel that there was a direct correlation to balancing some other hormones like cortisol. Um, Obviously, ghrelin and leptin, my hormones associated with hunger and satiation. Testosterone seemed to improve a little bit. Now, I didn't get blood tested on it because, quite frankly, it was a little bit pricey to get your blood tested for your hormones quite regularly. So I had been tested previous and just wanted to feel if there was a difference. Got back to the weights at the gym, and I was a little bit fatigued at first just because I had no glycogen storage in my body. And getting to the gym, I was running on fumes. So it was a very short workout. After 7 days of fasting, you definitely do not want to apply heavy foods. So after a 7 day fast, I researched and looked into what to eat. You need to eat something very high in water content, much smaller portion size. So I couldn't get back to my normal 6 to 8 ounce portions of protein. I needed to trickle that in. And using a protein shake again, that helped start the process. Then I began adding some probiotic foods such as sauerkraut and Greek yogurt. The Greek yogurt had a bit of a adverse effect on my stomach, I believe, due to the just it being a dairy product. It's not cow dairy, but goat. Still had a dramatic effect and upset my stomach to the point where I was a little concerned I needed to go to a doctor. Slept it off and it got better. Tried it again, same thing occurred. So I ruled out using yogurt or a heavy dairy product first days after fasting. Instead, I created a nice brothy soup with some seafood, a protein that's easily digestible, and had soup with heavy broth and easily digestible uh, vegetables to help bring back my healthy microbiome in my stomach. So, bring back some of that healthy bacteria and just adjust to having normal foods again. It took about a week for my body to adjust after a 7 day fast. So, after fasting for 1, 3, and 7 days, I began utilizing at least a 1 day fast after the weekend if I were to have had a cheat meal or a drink. I found that adding that 1 day fast on a Monday after a weekend where maybe I had a couple drinks with a friend or had a cheat meal, had some pizza, helped reset my body after that cheat meal, erase the damage of inflammation on the scale, heal the gut enough so that I'm back on track and not getting upset stomach or bloat from those cheat ingredients, whether that be alcohol, pizza, dairy, processed foods. It really helped fast track that healing process after the cheat meal, which usually would take 2 to 3 days of just adjusting with my water content. I'd feel bloated, lack of hunger, except for in the evening where I'd have increased hunger. So these bad foods I was having on the weekend were giving me symptoms throughout the week that were causing me to want to fall off track with that new set of hunger in the evening. But if I applied the fast on Monday, I did not have those symptoms throughout the week. So with that, I started to apply it to my own life for, I would say, 6 months. After seeing that this helped regulate my body every week, after if I had a cheat meal, if I didn't screw around on the weekend, I wouldn't apply the fast. So some days I should say, some weeks I was not interested in fasting. It can be tiresome mentally, and you really need to be prepared for it. So some weeks I would decide not to cheat on the weekend just because I didn't want to fast. It was almost like a checks and balances for me. It was this: if I'm going to do this, then I need to do that. And it gave me that higher sense of accountability of also holding myself that, hey, if you're going to do this, you have to do that. And you don't always like this. So that connection really helped me stay away from alcohol and junk food much more readily. Also, it balanced that hunger hormone that was set off throughout the weekend. And I often see in myself and in clients that cheat meal on the weekend can really snowball out of effect throughout the week and cause you to just completely fall off track. We all experience it. You have one bad meal and then you think and rationalize throughout the week, I can have one more. I'm doing good. And so that voice was muffled by the 1 day fast. As for 3 and 7 day fasts, I applied 3 day fast typically after maybe a vacation where I let go and just ate out every day and drank a lot, come back home, hit a 3 day fast, and I'm right back on track. 7 day fasts are a little bit less frequent. I like to apply those, or at least from research, you want to maybe twice to 3 times a year. That can be very hard to schedule into your busy life, along with they can cause a little bit of frustration, shortness of temper if you're really not prepared for them. So you want to have them in a great time in your life so that they're not setting you up for failure. So now, after experiencing fasting for a year on my own, doing the research, getting feedback from other professionals who were also utilizing fasting in their practices, I thought it's time to apply it to one of my clients. So I spoke to a client who was ready to go and anxious to try a fast. And so we applied it to his protocols. So we did a 1 day fast on a Monday after the weekend, and quite a success. So from there, I thought, okay, this is a male client. Let's see how a female client of mine responds after a 1 day fast. And so therefore, talked to a client, gave them the parameters of the fasting, and it was also a success for my female. Now, I did make sure that she was not a week out from her cycle or currently experiencing her cycle while fasting. These are 2 areas you don't want to apply a fast for women because of their hormone changes due to their cycle. So we do not want to fast as a female premenstrual or during your menstrual cycle. Um, so everything went well with my female client and my male client on a 1 day fast. So I decided, okay, let's turn it up a notch. Let's try a 2 or 3 day fast with both male and female client. Those two were also a success, so I felt really confident that fasting could be applied in my practice to those who were ready for it and fit the outline, which meant I felt they were structured enough to handle a fast in their day. Fasting can be quite difficult for some people who just perhaps are handling food a lot and around food a lot. Say, for example, a parent who is cooking 3 times a day for several children. That's going to be really hard to be around food, just the smell of it while you're not able to eat. It can drive you crazy. I know I meal prep for clients, and during my 1, 3, and 7 day fast, I was meal prepping for clients, and it was excruciating, along with the fact that you can't taste your food to make sure things are on on point with flavor. So I was utilizing my wife during that time and asking her to make sure things were salted and peppered properly before sending out. So yeah, being around food is a definite challenge. So working in a restaurant or food establishment would be a very tough environment for anyone trying to fast. Not that it can't be done, but it is much harder for you. So you may not want to start off in that environment. You might want to start off on a day off if you work in a food industry or around food, or if even your office is always stocked with food. I know many of my clients at their break rooms, there's just donuts for nurses constantly coming in, sweets from patients coming in, all in their their break rooms. So some of those environments can be very difficult to fast during. So you need to come up with a game plan on how to avoid these environments so that you can make it easier on yourself, whether that be do it on your day off or not going into certain areas of the house or work areas that would have food around them. You just want to, you want to set yourself up for success. You don't want to fall short and then ruin a fast by eating a jelly donut, which is going to make you regret even doing the fast, thinking that the fast is the problem when it was just the environment. It's also going to make you quite miserable if you've been fasting for a few days and then you apply a jelly donut to your stomach. You're going to be feeling that for quite a bit. And to be honest, you just threw away a perfect opportunity. So, all in all, I changed my mind on fasting. Fasting was at one point in my life a joke. I came from a bodybuilding background where you ate 6 meals a day, and that was how you got healthy. To realize that there is multiple applications than just having to hit your quota in protein intake every single day, but also days where you don't eat anything at all, and that could actually improve your health. This was revolutionary to me. This was just a whole different world that I was unaware of. Now, I've always been against and still am against intermittent fasting, where you fast for 16, 18 hours and then eat a meal or two at most. That is not the fasting I am discussing in this video, and that is not a healthy way to fast for one big reason. You cannot acquire and digest and properly utilize those macronutrients, specifically protein, in one or two large portions. You need to break them up into digestible portions throughout the day. So if you think that intermittent fasting is going to allow you to hold on to muscle tissue while dropping body weight, you are wrong. You will be losing some muscle and bone density during intermittent fasting. This is just a new fad that people created. It basically mimics starving yourself. You're starving yourself of nutrients and macronutrients that your body needs to hold on to your muscle tissue, your bone mass, your organ mass. And if you're not feeding that properly, you are going to become deficient, and your body's going to need to take from somewhere to get these essential macronutrients, protein, amino acids from somewhere, calcium, and so forth. And they're going to take them from your bone and muscle. You don't want that. So don't intermittent fast. That's my big message here, other than my feedback on fasting for myself and for my clients. I'd love to hear your feedback on a long-term or short-term fast, as long as it is not intermittent fasting, in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to putting out more information on fasting in the time to come.